We just steal Sean's intro. It's fine. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year's. Almost New Year's. We're in the final days of 2024.
Crazy.
We're counting down. This is Wrestling Made Me Cry. My name is Kiley.
I'm Collins.
And
the tree is still up here.
No, it's not. We keep it up through the new year because it's good luck.
Amen. Amen. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to Fernando. Good morning to Clown. Good morning to I Make Beats all the way from the UK. World's End. So listen.
La la la.
Collins did not see World's End at World's End live because Collins went to GCW.
Yeah.
But I think we can, in the chat, we can all agree that this pay-per-view was made for Collins. I just know that some of the viewers here, while you were watching that, you were like, Colin's gonna love this.
Oh man, we talked about it last week. How if this happens, if Adam Copeland returns and Kenny Omega returns, and Adam Cole and MJF, all of the things that we talked about last week, I predicted because that's the law. That's the law, right? If the moment I'm not there to watch it live, all the things that I've been wanting to happen all year happens the same show.
Are you gonna watch it today?
Yes. The plan is after this, I have to go. I have to go take my husband to pick up his car because it's finally ready.
Nice.
Which, by the way, if you just happen to, and this is advice for everybody, open your hood every once in a while. You never know what creatures could be hiding in the hood of your car.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
I like in the winter, I know to check the tire wells and stuff for cats because cats crawl up in there because it's warm. But the thought of a little mouse or a squirrel getting all up in there and eating,
is
kind of scary.
Yeah, because then you're just driving like normal, you always know when you're driving your car if there's maintenance needed before the car tells you. That's fine. But it's the moment that it's my car didn't drive like this yesterday, so you're trying to be extra careful, and then you open up the hood and you see that a rodent has been eating where your spark plugs are.
That's terrifying.
So it's that's the reason why.
I would be so scared.
Yeah. And then you don't want to drive your vehicle, but it's do you can you physically drive it to the shop? Yeah, but do you wanna? No. Your brakes work, so at least but you don't know the extent of the damage or whatever. But all in all, it is an easy fix. It's not as expensive as the last event that we had to have happen, which was literally last month with me getting into a car accident. But we're here. We're going.
Through 2024. We're going to make it to the end.
You know what? This time last year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy a brand new car because I've never really had a brand new car, one that I've chosen. This is the car I wanted. And last year we were at a better spot financially because this last year my husband lost his job. And then both of our dogs got really sick this year. So it's all of that savings, and also we got married. So that took away a lot of our savings. But it's everything that I was I'm going to do that this year. I looked back and I'm I did not do that this year, at all.
2025 is our year.
Yeah, 2025. Woo woo. Put in the chat everything that you're ready for 2025. We're going to manifest it.
Let us know your goals for 2025 so I can help manifest for you.
Yes.
Because listen, I think we have superpowers. because we manifested Kenny Omega. If you were part of my manifestation circle on Blue Sky, I appreciate you. We all held hands and we manifested Kenny Omega, which that's not a spoiler for Collins because Collins already knew.
I already knew.
They already knew. So that's not a spoiler. Don't yell at me. I could sense people were angrily typing. How can you spoil that?
No, you know who spoiled all of World's End for me was Kimmy Sokol.
That's so on brand for Kimmy, though.
I love it, though. I love it.
We love Kimmy here. We're allowed to say that about Kimmy. We're Kimmy's friends.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
A few things. First off, if you want your question, your comment, your statement right on air, make sure to spit a super chat. We'll read all of those. Second off, I made a latte.
Ooh,
it's
what kind
really,
of latte?
really good. It's like cinnamon caramel.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoying it. And then also my wrestling shirt of the day, which you can't really see because now I have our names up because I wanted to play with the new StreamYard fonts, which this font is called Gluten, if you were wondering. Don't know why. But I have my Brody shirt.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, where I was down between Kenny Omega and Okada, and then I was like, no, I gotta wear Brody. You gotta.
Did you see Amanda's post?
It
literally made me cry. One of those things it brought back all of those same emotions, everything.
I really admire Amanda and her strength, and her resilience, and everything she does for her children.
Mm-hmm.
Adore her.
Absolutely. But
yeah, I got the Brody shirt. Maybe I'll wear like Kenny Omega or Okada next show, maybe, depending on what happens. Because I'm always inspired by what happens the week before in wrestling. I'm always like curious. But since you already know about Kenny Omega's return, can we chat about Kenny Omega for a second?
Yes, we can. Always can chat about how beautiful and how strong he looked.
That was his color. He looked so good. I immediately posted on Blue Sky. I was like, that's his color. Like, so basically what happened was Christopher Daniels comes out and he's like, hey, I'm not an EVP anymore, but this guy is. And Kenny Omega comes out. He looks beautiful. He looks healthy. He looks strong. He looks ready. He goes into the ring. Do you know what happens next, Collins?
No. Share. I want to hear.
Okay. I have permission then to spoil this.
Yeah.
So Okada is in the ring. And Kenny Omega goes. He stands toe-to-toe with Okada. And in the background, so like behind them in the framing, is the All In Texas poster. And they keep like framing the shots. Like there's nothing is being said. It's a silent standoff of All In the background. And then Kenny leaves, obviously. And then as Okada is leaving, he keeps looking at the All In Texas poster. So I'm thinking we got our All In Texas main event.
Oh my gosh.
Omega Okada 5.
Oh my God. The one time that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go to Texas. Like,
same. I wasn't going to go. And then Lyric texted me and was like, so everybody's going to Texas? Everybody's going?
Listen, if anything, I will spend the least amount of time in Texas in June, right? In June.
Oh, it's July. It's like July 12th or something like that.
In and out. Next day.
Yeah, like an overnight trip. I'm not opposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to be there, because it's like there probably won't be another Omega Okada match, like a singles match. It probably won't be. So it's probably the last one. It's the 5th one, and it's the first one that I would be able to like go see in person because I there's no way that I was ever flying to Japan.
Right.
Like financially, it was never in the cards for me when Omega was there. All that. And also, I feel like it means a lot more now because Kenny is coming back from quite literally the brink of death. And it's like still so surreal to me to see Okada in AEW, knowing that he he's not a New Japan guy who's like guesting in AEW. Like he is in AEW. He left New Japan. Like it's still so surreal to me every time I think about it. Like Okada, the biggest wrestling star in Japan, just left and went to AEW. I don't know. It's surreal to me. But Kenny Omega's return. Didn't have to say a single word. Didn't have to utter anything. Yeah. And he took the spotlight of the whole show. I do feel like the main event that happened after kind of suffered from this
how big this was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Kenny's back.
And he looks so good.
He does.
He looks so good. Do you think that he's going to come back being a heel or a face?
I think he's going to be a face. And here's my fantasy booking scenario. Okay. I think at the New Japan shows that are coming up next week, Wrestle Dynasty, everything.
Oh God, that's next week.
Yeah.
Am I gonna sleep ever? Like
no.
At all? No. Okay.
This is your life. This is your life now.
This is your life.
AEW is always gonna have a pay-per-view, apparently, the week before Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty. That's just how it is. I don't make the rules, but I do think
I wish you did.
I wish I did too. Because I would change so many rules in AEW.
Oh, I thought about my whole life. We like budgeting in like nap time.
You know what? I wish I did too. Because we would both be going to Texas.
Exactly.
But no, I think because the Young Bucks are going to be there. And the Young Bucks, when they were at New Japan Strong, they were still their heel personas. Matt Jackson still had the pearl necklaces. They were still the EVPs, right?
Right.
So I think there's going to be some interaction between the Young Bucks and Kenny where it's very clear that Kenny does not forgive them, even if they want Kenny to forgive them. Because it's always Matt Jackson like begging for Kenny's forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like always. I think Kenny is just like not going to do it this time. And I think eventually we might see maybe possibly the EVPs in league with the Death Riders.
Ooh.
And I think ultimately what we're going to get is at Revolution, which is March 9th in Los Angeles, Kenny and Hangman versus the Young Bucks again. In Revolution 2025, which is 5 years after Revolution 2020, what I think is the greatest tag team match of all time. So that's what I think is going to happen. And then that will set us up for obviously the summer building, Omega Okada. Not that you need to build Omega Okada. Let's be completely transparent here. But I do think that's where we're going because I think Hangman, after the world title match, I'm trying so hard not to do too many spoilers here. I think Hangman needs something.
Yeah.
And it's very, very clear that he and Swerve are on two different trajectories now. They're on two different paths, as they should be. And so I think that's where we're going.
Interesting. Well, here's the thing, y'all. I'm not one of those people that if you spoil a show I haven't seen, I'm going to be like, oh man, I hate you. We're no longer friends, because there's no way to avoid it. I mean, I got a freaking text message about it. So it's like how intertwined I am in social media is it just bleeds into my everyday life. So if it's not here, whatever, it's fine. There are people like my husband who can refrain, and he just doesn't look at his phone, and now he's like, he's waiting. But there's no way to avoid spoilers anymore. We're not in a culture that does that. What spoils things for me is when people show me clip after clip after clip, and they're like, look at this, and I'm like, I want to see it the first time. I don't want a clip to be the first time I see something. So you telling me like, oh, this is the results of this match, it's everywhere. I know.
I do think that World's End is like an experience in the whole show. Like, I feel like it doesn't have that many matches overall, but I do think that like every match hit, every match was a banger. Obviously, the returns meant a lot, and I think even the 0 hour kind of popped off. Where were the Costco guys though? That's what I want to know.
Right, haven't they been like?
Yeah, they were
promoting this.
Yeah, they were at the ticket party, the all-in ticket party thing.
Yeah,
and then they were on Collision, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
QT Marshall, sorry, had a match where the entire time he is mocking the Costco guys. What? I expected at least Big Justice.
I have just the Rizzler just come out.
The Rizzler needs an AEW deal.
Absolutely.
I think the Costco guys should sign full time with AEW, and I think they deserve it, and also we've seen Billy Starks and Nick Wayne who signed the contracts where they become AEW talents when they graduate high school or they turn 18, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Big Justice, you saw that spear. What? How are you going to have QT Marshall come out and mock with his entrance and everything the Costco guys, and then the Costco guys aren't there?
I know.
I was very upset. We saw that he has a boot. He can walk around in that boot. Yeah, and Kate is right. AJ versus Okada went. I love the Costco guys, and I said this last week. I watched no
like
Costco.
AJ Styles, by the way.
Can I say I have always been low key very disappointed in AJ Styles for not showing up at AEW at least for a little bit.
I know, because there was that period of time that he wasn't contracted, right, or something.
Yeah, like show up for like a day or two, like do like do a couple matches, and like then you can go back. It's fine.
We have Ospreay doing the Styles Clash. That's enough for me.
But AJ Styles and the Young Bucks.
You're right.
And it's like a perfect story because they kicked him out of the Bullet Club.
Oh, wah, wah.
Bullet Club lore.
We should just do a whole show. I say this every time. We should just do a whole show about how we talk about the lore of
something.
Yeah, the lore.
Maybe we should do some of those in 2025. Just like one-off, just lore episodes.
I'm into it.
Because there's so much Bullet Club lore that I think a lot of people forget about because it happened so long ago.
You say that it happened so long ago, but let me tell you, 10 years ago feels like yesterday.
It does, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like the last 5 years have felt like 1 year.
Yeah, right? Chronologically?
Yeah, like in my head.
Yeah. A post just came up the other day that it was like, oh, it's been 9 years since I moved to Seattle. I'm like, how has it been 9 years?
That's crazy. 9 years within a blink of an eye.
I know.
Finn and AJ crash a Bullet Club reunion. This gluten font is very strange. I don't know if I like it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It is fun. It's kind of a vibe, actually. We'll see. Like maybe next week I'll try a different font and we'll just like pick our favorites.
I think it goes with the aura.
The aura. I think so too. I think it's a vibe.
It is.
But Kenny Omega.
Very excited. His hair. So here's my thing. If women are going to wear extensions, I think it's okay for men to wear extensions.
Yeah.
I mean, Lance Archer wears extensions in his little braid.
It's just hair.
It's just hair. Because, I mean, a lot of it is like presentation, like what it is when you present yourself. Do you think that Kenny Omega has extensions, or do you think there's a piece?
I don't know, because I do think he had enough time to grow his hair out.
Right.
But I don't know if he would have. But I do think someone needs to get him a better curl routine.
Sure. I mean, I say that about Hangman all the time because
he's a big offender too.
He's a big offender. But it's at least not like Nikita Lyons bad, because
that's
that just
fair.
looks like.
I guess, I mean, Kenny has worn extensions in the past, like
right.
Was it Dominion, I think, where he had the long braids?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I remember the braids though.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is to say that, like, after you've had like an autoimmune disease, like, it is common for folks to have like hair loss, or that their hair patterns change or colors change. I know for myself, like, after like medical events, I go, oh, my hair feels different.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take a moment to get back on what seems normal for you. But I always love like Kenny Omega's lush, curly madness of a mop, you know? Like,
yeah.
That's peak Kenny Omega.
I think my two favorite Kenny Omega hairstyles were the bleached hair. The super like white blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Loved that. And then I think his last Wrestle Kingdom into his AEW debut before heel Kenny Omega. Like OG babyface lost his heart in Japan, Kenny Omega. I think those were my favorite hairs. But then he turned heel and he dyed it black and blue. And then I think we were a little downhill from there. But that's okay, because you know what? He's still Kenny Omega, and I still adore him.
We support everybody's rights and wrongs in their hair journey, right?
Yeah, in their hair journey, and sometimes other journeys. Like, I do think Hangman Page did nothing wrong. This was very controversial on Blue Sky.
Speaking of which, did you watch any of the Hangman Burning House stream
on Christmas Eve?
Yeah,
absolutely. I loved it. It was so simple, but it was just so funny. Something about it just really tickled me.
I will say, I was trying to get it on camera, but alas, it's like the moment that I would pick up and start recording, my dogs didn't do it. But the moment I turned it on, and just like the crackling of the fire, right? My dogs were going bananas. They're barking. They're like charging the TV. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, but
they were his aura.
So mad. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Because I thought that they were like barking at a squirrel or something. And my little Chihuahua mix Archer was just like full, like, full rage. Whereas, my Penny Lane, she's a little bit blind these days. So I think that she just barks because he barks. And it's like, 2 is better than 1. So let's go. But yeah, they were barking at him, just sitting there, drinking his little drink with fire in the background. But the moment I pulled up my phone to like record it, they were just like, oh, do you have a treat? Oh. And I'm like, okay, you can't just like turn it, with a switch.
They were pretending. They were like, oh, this is on, good opportunity to bark.
Exactly.
They seized the moment. I respected it.
Sometimes they do bark at like big moments that happen like in wrestling, whether it's like, a cinder block to the back, or, someone gets super bloody. I don't know what it is about our TV and our little dog Archer, but he gets mad when there's violence. So
he gets mad when there's violence.
Yeah.
He's a WWE fan.
Oh, what's funny is we were putting together our match of the year, matches of the year, I guess, for 2024. And I was, I have my own that have been culminating in my brain for the last week since we talked about this. But I was like, oh, I don't have really anything else except Ring of Honor and AEW.
Same. I tried, because I don't watch WWE or TNA or New Japan really like from week to week, like I regularly, but I'll watch the big shows, or if someone says, "Oh, this match was really good, you should watch it," I'll seek it out and I'll watch it. But like I didn't have a whole lot of those this year. Like sometimes, you know, someone, you know, Kate or Lyric or someone will text me and say, "You would like this." Not that many this year.
Not right. There weren't that many. And I feel like years past, there have been more contenders for match of the year in WWE. Not to say that there weren't great matches. I have like an honorable mention list, which after this show, I'll post on both Blue Sky and Twitter and maybe Instagram of what my thoughts are. But I think that the women truly killed in WWE this year. Far superior to their men counterparts.
I think for me, it comes down to the fact that I don't enjoy Cody and I don't enjoy the bloodline. And I'm going to be straight up freaking honest. I only like Drew McIntyre. I don't really like CM Punk either.
I know we've talked about how much like CM Punk in WWE to me is different.
Yes,
exactly. Than what he was in AEW.
Yeah, you get it. You get it. Yeah.
So him in AEW was like actually something that I was like, okay, I like this. This could be cool. Whereas the WWE version is very, I'm gonna avenge my broken bracelet, or you know, whatever. It's just thing. Yes, I really did like one of the matches that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk had, but other than that, it's like I haven't really liked the feud. I haven't really liked the reason. I like what Drew McIntyre has done. I really liked how it started, really. But Drew McIntyre, it's a testament to Drew McIntyre, not really CM Punk, to me.
Yeah, and I think that's the impression I got as well. I also I feel like when it comes to stories and blood feuds,
yeah,
maybe this is controversial. I feel like AEW has WWE beat this year. And I know that the big discourse this year was AEW doesn't do stories. AEW only does matches and they only do bloody matches, which is just objectively not true.
Yeah.
But like I was, I keep track of the matches I like throughout the year and then I consolidate into, a top 5 or top 10 or whatever I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, AEW had some really great stories this year. And I look at WWE and I'm like, didn't like the Bloodline, didn't like Cody, didn't like CM Punk Drew. There were some things in NXT where I was like, that's pretty good. Not interested. So like the ones that I wanted to talk about today, like my matches of the year, which this might change a little bit from when I post it on social media, because you talk about it, you remember things, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
I added Okada Ospreay from last night because no spoilers, and it's like an AEW love fest. And I know like that you're an AEW shill, you're paid by Tony Khan, blah blah blah.
God, I wish.
Tony, if you paid me,
I would be so much nicer. I would be so nice.
And I don't know how people say I'm an AEW shill. I hate on AEW all the time. To the point where people tell me that I'm unfair to AEW.
What?
Yes. And that's why I don't talk about wrestling on Twitter that much anymore, because I would say a critique about AEW and people would screenshot it. And of course it gets sent to me because hello. And they'd be like, oh, look at all these anti-AEW fightful people. They're so unfair to AEW. Hello? I'm unfair to AEW. I don't even watch WWE. Okay, is that fair?
But Do you ever notice that, like, after you've gone on a rant about, say, I don't know, like the women's division not being booked longer than like 9-minute matches? Although the tweet where I posted how many of these matches have gone over out of all of them, out of every women's match at Full Gear, there was only 2 matches that have been longer than 9 minutes. It since the history of Full Gear. And I remember posting that, and then it was like, oh, we have a longer women's match. Oh.
There was one time I posted, I don't even remember like what the context was, but it was something along those lines of like, how are you going to have a pay-per-view and your only women's match is, it was short. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a Troy Baker match. And I got so many DMs from people who were telling me that I was a biased journalist and that if...
I love being called a journalist, by the way.
There was one time I tweeted, some of you need to learn the difference between a journalist and a content creator. Yeah. And I got hate for that too. So it is what it is at this point. But, this is my match of the year list, and it is what it is.
You call yourself a journalist. Actually, I call myself an idiot most of the time. But and
what's crazy to me, what blows my mind is that this is not my job.
Yeah.
This is not my job. This is something that I do for fun.
Yeah, for fun. For fun. None of this is serious. Which, shout out to Kate, because I tend to have like a rejection sensitivity, whatever that is, that goes along with being neurodivergent. And it's like the moment that I get like bad vibes from someone, I'm like, they hate me. Everybody hates me. Nobody likes anything that I'm saying. I shouldn't do this anymore. I get into that like spiral. And it's like, none of this is serious. This is not brain science. Like, nobody's dying. Yeah. Your opinion in wrestling is your opinion in wrestling. And you're allowed to have your opinion in wrestling. I just don't have to listen to it.
Yeah. So you guys are going to hear my match of the year list. Here's some spoilers. And that's that.
Yeah, that's that.
You can disagree if you want. I don't care.
Well, I care.
Not that any of you are going to disagree, because like Joe was just in here straight up. Someone tell Moxley his gimmick sucks. So none of you are going to disagree. I can already feel it. The Death Riders.
I just want to know, what is John Moxley's gimmick? Because I think John Moxley went, you know what? I'm in AEW, and someone said, just be yourself, and he's like, fine.
I think his gimmick now is his first gimmick, and it's, I'm John Moxley, and I'm an egomaniac. I think that's what it is.
Oh my God.
And then you have Claudio, who's just like constantly pulling him out of the fire because John Moxley's an egomaniac and gets himself in bad situations. I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
I'm not all that interested or invested in the Death Riders, I'm going to be honest, but I'm interested in the Claudio Moxley-ness of it all.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm interested in that. I don't think that the Death Riders are like vampires sucking the life out of AEW like some people do, though.
Oh, I was like, are they sucking blood out of people? Because that would be fun.
Imagine they're secretly vampires and they've just been killing everybody this whole time. We need more vampires in wrestling.
You know what? I agree. We need more like, what is it? What are those things called? Like magic, like wizards and goblins.
Yeah. Get creative, people. There's only so many mean guys in wrestling. Like, you're like, my gimmick is I'm mean.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I said about Christian Cage, or Brian Cage, sorry. Not Christian Cage. He's daddy. but Brian Cage that I said, oh, his gimmick, Wolverine cosplay. Mean guy with Wolverine cosplay. That's it.
He has hair now.
I know. I don't like it.
He looks like a completely different person.
Yeah. I also think he's laying off the juice, a little bit. Because he doesn't have that roidy belly,
Well, and now he's in a tag team with Lance Archer, so
I like it.
I like it.
I don't
like that it's a Don Callis thing, though.
I don't like that either, but I'll tolerate him and his no socks and his dumb face.
Yeah, I tolerate it.
Looking like a thumb. I said it. Don Callis looks like a thumb.
He does.
A thumb with expensive clothes on. Okay.
Don Callis.
That's things of wrestling that makes me cry is Don Callis.
I would invite Don Callis onto the show just to make him cry.
What? As in like a roast off?
Yeah, I could do it.
I would be into it.
I could 100% do it. I can out-mean Don Callis any day of the week. And it like, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. Jeremy Lambert knows.
Love Jeremy Lambert.
He would approve. Should we get to our matches of the year?
Yes, we should.
Okay, so on my list, I don't think any of these are going to be surprising to you, but they're not in like any particular order because I couldn't pick like this is the match I think is the match of the year because I was like, oh, but this one was also really good, but for like very different reasons. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to weigh it. But like this match I thought was good for emotional reasons. The Young Bucks versus Private Party. Private Party winning the tag title.
Which one? Oh, the one
where they won the tag titles. A Dynamite number, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Apparently not the pay-per-view one where.
See, here's the thing. I was in the building for the pay-per-view one, and I feel like everybody in that room all thought that Private Party was going to win.
They should have. And I said this on Blue Sky or Twitter, I can't remember. But sometimes AEW like waits too long to pull the trigger on stuff.
Yeah.
And like this isn't the first time they've done a weird thing where they have someone lose and then just have them win shortly after. I don't know. I don't understand it. Because like I feel like at a pay-per-view or like a big show.
Yeah.
Not the big show, a big show. That would be the place to crown Private Party as the tag champs because Private Party, they have the history with the Young Bucks, obviously, but they've kind of like slowly built up over the years. And then they're just like, nah, it's going to be done. But I was still very, very happy. I was still happy about it because it's Private Party and, we were on our Private Party agenda and the match was good. I loved all especially Matt Jackson, the callbacks to Kenny Omega with, he did the V-trigger and Kenny Omega moves and Kenny Omega like mannerisms. I loved that because I was in deep in my missing Kenny Omega era. And I just feel like this was like very symbolic of everything that AEW does really, really well. Which is these long-term stories that like reward you as a fan. Because if you watched in 2019, this meant a lot more to you than if you're someone who started watching after. Yeah. Because after like a Private Party immediately like fell to the bottom of the barrel. And they were doing Matt Hardy stuff. They were doing other stuff. But I love that
people were out, with injury. So
yeah. And I love that about AEW that anything that happens can become significant years later. I love that. Because like it feeds the part of my brain that is constantly building stories. And also I just love Private Party. I love the Young Bucks. I thought the match was good. I don't think like in ring it was the best match ever.
Yeah. Like
I think we're both going to have matches on the list that are in ring much better. But I do think from a story and emotional standpoint, it's on my list.
What is happening on my phone?
We're celebrating. That's actually Private Party hacking you.
I flipped open. So you know how like on the iPhone where like you can, you know, like these are all my tabs open. I went to flip back to my notes tab, and apparently that I flipped open to Instagram. So I apologize.
You know,
But we're
it's fine.
celebrating.
It's at the moment. It's at the moment. It's okay. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
But we are celebrating because it's Private Party. And I don't know. I was like consolidating my lists, and I was like, you know what? That has to be on there because the Private Party agenda was such a big part of my wrestling fandom of the year.
Yeah.
So it had to be on there. I couldn't leave them off.
Yeah, I did not have them on my list at all. It was one of those things of, okay, so I don't know if you do this, but this is also probably part of my brain, is that every time that there's like, oh, I want to remember this match or I want to go back to this match, I just put it in a notes app.
Mm-hmm.
My notes apps look insane because I don't create new notes. I just put it all into one. So it'll be like a grocery list and then like Swerve versus Hangman. And I'm like, well, what were my thoughts about this? I don't know. And when I'm taking notes for Ring of Honor each week, I do speech to text. And then I go to my computer and figure out what I was trying to say. So it's a running list. What I noticed that when I look at like other websites or like other wrestling media talking about their matches of the year, usually I'm never 1-1. Like lots of like, how can you have a same if every list was the same, not enough wrestling happened. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah.
So the fact that I was going to like, okay, kind of looking at what other people are gauging, and I already made my list earlier this week, but I kind of wanted to see like, oh, was there a match that I forgot or like something? But every list was different. And I think that that's the best part of wrestling is when there's so much wrestling content out there that is accessible to people, that what you like in wrestling will be evident on your match of the year candidate, because there was something in there for everyone, whether you like tag, lucha, death matches. Like there were so many great matches and it connects to you inside, right? Where I feel like in years prior, maybe like 2017-ish, 2016, a lot of those lists were very same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that there are so many options, but
wrestling is thriving.
It is. Shall I mention? So one of the matches that I wanted to call out as my match of the year would be Diamante versus Layla Hirsch at Death Before Dishonor this year. That would be July 26th. Ian Riccaboni called it one of the most violent women's matches in Ring of Honor history, which I think is absolutely true. The winner, Layla Hirsch, needed medical attention because she dislocated her elbow during the match and continued. But it was a Texas death match, which you know how I feel about Texas death matches. I love everything that is violence.
Your vibes. Yeah.
But like thumbtacks, tables, ladders, chairs, duct tape, barbed wire. There were so many elements to this match that didn't feel like it was just like a free-for-all or was too sloppy. I truly think that this was one of the best matches of the year that is not talked about enough. I think that the Ring of Honor women's division is not talked about enough because there is so much talent that is not being showcased.
Yeah.
And I think that Layla Hirsch during the match, when she dislocated her elbow, probably didn't know that that was what was happening. Changed up how she was wrestling a little bit. She did a moonsault from the top of a ladder through to Diamante, who was duct taped to a table. If that doesn't scream, that is an Auntie Collins match. I don't know what does, because from top to bottom, while I hate that there was an injury and this led to Layla Hirsch being out until recently, like months and months and months, incredible. If you want to see violence, go back and watch. This should have been like a main event. This should have been more featured on the card. It should have been a longer story, because Tony Khan does not book Ring of Honor how I think Ring of Honor should be booked. But this was honestly one of the best matches of the entire year that definitely needs its flowers and definitely needs to be placed in higher regard. Because, yeah, you can have violence for the sake of violence, but you could truly feel that these two women were like, no, I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
And Layla pulled out the win, but sacrificed her freaking elbow in the process. So
I think Layla is kind of an underrated wrestler. Like, I'm thinking back to when she was in AEW more often. She always got great crowd reactions. People really cheered for her. I'm excited to see if they end up, because I don't know if Ring of Honor is getting a TV deal. I don't know. But if they do, I imagine that, we'll see more Ring of Honor promotion on AEW TV naturally.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if, like, we see a lot more people from Ring of Honor in AEW, especially people like Layla Hirsch. You can come into the women's division and mix it up a little bit. Not that it's stale or stagnant.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Layla Hirsch and Diamante, for that matter, like, they always got good crowd reactions in AEW. In matches, just showing up. They were never, like, hated or boring or ignored. They were, I don't know. So, but I do think that the women, and we talk about this all the time, I do think the women's division of Ring of Honor carries hard, as they should. But no, I 100% agree. And Layla is I just adore her. I do.
I do too.
So you're going to like this next one on my list then. I have Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander, the Chicago street fight. I think it was all out.
I also have that on my list.
So good. Okay, listen. This match, it was like you said about Diamante and Layla, violence, but it was also like there was a light too, but there's also the straps and the chain. There was tacks. There was spots all over the freaking arena. It was so good. And I think this is where, like, Chris Statlander really became, in the eyes of a lot of people, like a real contender. I think she really shined. And obviously Willow as well, because Willow went on to do better things. But this match, I think, really kickstarted the last few months of the AEW women's division, where we've been saying things like, oh, the women's division is finally good. Like, we have a thriving women's division. We have, a diversity of talent. We have like 5-star caliber S-tier talent. We have Chris, we have Willow, we have Mercedes, we have Mariah May, we have Toni Storm. I think this street fight was really like the catalyst for that discourse, because all your people have been kind of saying, like, oh, the women's division is up and coming. They got a lot of moving parts and they're finally coming together. But I think this was the moment where, for a lot of fans, there's a helicopter outside. I'm sorry if you hear them. I think this was, like, really the one where people were like, oh, maybe we're finally here. And the match itself was just absolutely excellent. Like, the feud in general of this ultimate babyface Willow, happy vibes, sunshine and rainbows, and Chris Statlander, who feels a little bit jealous, a little bit, like, left out in the cold, who's coming for Willow. The feud between friends, I really enjoyed. The match itself was violent. It was bloody. It was, like, everything we've come to expect from AEW's, like, street fights. Chicago street fight, whatever, Philadelphia street fight, whatever city we're in, the street fights.
Yeah.
And it was just also very on brand for All Out. Like, it fit perfectly on this card. And then obviously Chris Statlander went on to Mercedes, which those matches are also on my list. Spoiler alert. The Mercedes feud. And I think Chris Statlander has really, really shined in 2024.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's really funny to me that Chris Statlander, in my mind, has had 3 contenders for match of the year, not just women's,
right?
Match of the year, period.
Right.
And it kind of hurts me that a lot of people, all they want to talk about is Mercedes. I'm sorry. Like, last night, the match was excellent. No spoilers. But it was a lot of people talking about Mercedes and how, Mercedes is finally here. She's silencing the doubters. If Chris Statlander isn't Chris Statlander and she isn't this good, Willow and Mercedes don't look as good as they do. So give her flowers.
I just don't understand how they don't look as good, or if even better, because of the style that they wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I do want to say, with this match with Willow versus Chris at AEW All Out, this was following Will Ospreay and Pac, which a lot of people had the All Out Will Ospreay versus Pac match on their match of the year, which I agree, it is a very great contender, and it is certainly before Murder Pac has happened, right? Because now that when he comes out, he just looks like it's the same thing of like Josh Barnett. You know what I mean? Like, the way that he comes out, it just looks like my life is going to end,
Yeah.
So I have to say that it really, if it were anywhere else on the card, I feel like more people would want to talk about it. But it's fantastic the way that it is. One of the best street matches, period, this year. I'm a gimmick match kind of person, so this was absolutely fantastic. They gave the fans exactly the kind of violence and storytelling that they needed. All in, there was that, tag match with Stokely and Ishii, which I thought was such a funny little pairing at the time, because I think Ishii is just God's gift to wrestling. Like, absolutely.
Valid.
And, that's kind of the last place that we really found Stokely. But yeah, I absolutely love this match. I have paragraphs and paragraphs, but I think that you summed it up perfectly. I think it definitely brought a specific shine to the women's division in 2024, showing that you don't have to have a title belt to have a banger of a match.
That's a good point.
And we've been saying it for years. We don't have to have a title to have a good match.
And you don't. All you need is a good story. And even sometimes, if the wrestlers are good enough, you don't even need a story. The story is the match.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So I had such a good time with that one. I won't make my next one Chris Stat versus Mercedes, I promise. You could give one from your list now, because I kind of stole.
All right. Do we want to cry? Because one of the ones on my list is AEW Revolution, the retirement match.
That's on my list.
Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks at AEW Revolution. Top to bottom, storyline, everything. The winners of this match surprised me, because I'm used to WWE booking where you go out on your back kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it really was such a wonderful entrance, having Sting's sons be, two of his most known, gimmicks to then the vignette and then the Seek and Destroy by Metallica. Like it was just so perfect that I was so pumped. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this because I face painted to sit in my home with my friends and cry about it. The red face paint, because I was Wolfpack Sting, just streaming down my face, going down my chin and into my shirt and everything. So it was just so many tears happened during this match. And if they just had a regular match, it would have been fine. Would have been fine because we didn't expect Sting to wrestle this way, right? We weren't expecting him to jump off things, to fly off things. Like this man is 64 years old. However, he got superplexed through a table off the stage. I just want to reiterate, this man is 64 years old and he got superplexed through a table off the stage. Okay. He came back into the match. He didn't just lay there. He came back into the match. Darby had that insane spot where he jumped off the ladder through the freaking plate of glass. And you just see him laying there, and it's just all of a sudden, all the blood capillaries just. What? What? Are you kidding me? But the fact that, like, Sting had this, like, big table spot and then still climbed a ladder to be put through another table. Like, it was just, like, one thing after another. I didn't think that this needed to happen, Mr. Sting.
Mr. Sting.
But in the end, Sting and Darby are up on top. Very emotional.
I loved this match, and you can see like why Sting chose the Young Bucks for it.
Yeah.
Because they were the perfect opponents. You know, they kept Sting safe as he could have been in that match. They also like complimented Darby really well because Darby does all the freaky spots, and then Nick Jackson also does all the freaky spots, and so it was great.
Yeah.
And I think the Young Bucks are also just the annoying heels that you want to punch in the face, and they were just perfect to counter the extreme positivity and happiness and the emotion of the Sting retirement when his sons were there. And you have the annoying Young Bucks who are constantly like making fun of him and mocking him and mocking his sons.
Yeah.
And it was so good. I had this match on my list for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, but also just because to me, watching it kind of made me feel like, okay, maybe AEW is going to be okay. Because AEW for a lot of 2023 and 2022 was just not okay.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, wrestling and non-wrestling wise, that we won't get into. But it was also like, I was like, that made it hard for me to like enjoy AEW the way I had in years past. And this match, I watched it, and I watched the happy send-off for Sting. It was all extremely well done. The video, his sons, everything. And I was like, okay, I think AEW is going to be okay. Yeah. And then 2024 had so many good things for AEW. So the match for what it is makes it match of the year. But for me, it's like even a little bit better because for what it did for my enjoyment of AEW and like my outlook on wrestling in general. I loved it.
I learned this year how much Sting charges to appear at con with and without face paint. And thinking how many cons this man has done this year. That man is set. He's setting himself up. Because like, I don't know. I'm not in the con world. That's not my gimmick, right? I I've never booked a talent. You know, I don't know talent agencies and all of that stuff. But let's just say that Sting is very well compensated. And the added face paint, I would agree of like adding that extra, it's like extra cash money to appear in face paint because he's 64 years old.
But he wrestles like he's 40.
He wrestles better than a lot.
And it's crazy that Sting announced his retirement and we were all like, already?
Yeah. Okay, do you remember Sting's first match in AEW? And it was that like cinematic kind of match. And it was versus the Acclaimed, right? The Acclaimed? Because it was in like an abandoned warehouse or whatever. And that's the extent that I thought that Sting was going to provide, right? Because we all suffered through the what is that, 2016, 2015 of Sting back in a WWE or whatever. And I think that match versus Seth Rollins, I was like, well, that's it. That's my icon. That's the guy that I've idolized forever. That's just kind of how old guys wrestle. He's gotten. How do you get better when you get older? I don't understand. But
he's learned to wrestle a little bit differently, and I think it's really worked for him. And I also think because he's not wrestling all that often, when he does wrestle, it seems a lot bigger, and a lot more important. It was Brian Cage. This was also when Hook, Send Hook became a thing.
Send Hook.
I just love Sting. I have another match on my list from Revolution.
Okay,
I have Hangman versus Samoa Joe. Versus Swerve.
Ooh.
And this was like a wild card for me because I was looking at my matches list and I was like, why did I have that on there? I don't remember anything about this match. But I went back, I watched it. Listen, the birth of the Hangman Swerve feud.
Yes.
And also Samoa freaking Joe. We need to talk about Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, I think, is the most underrated wrestler of the last 2 years. I think that Samoa Joe as champion was great. It was very obvious that he was never going to be like champion for years and years and years, and he was going to be the mox of the promotion, whatever. But Samoa Joe is so good at making you believe that he is just above it all. And in this feud, he very much like this match, Hangman and Swerve are obviously at each other's throats. And Samoa Joe's like, hey, this got nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me. I'm above it all. I'm the world champ. You're not going to beat me anyway. So you might as well, handle each other for me. His entire championship run, like all the promos leading up to this, and like every match he had, he was very much like, I'm simply better.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I really did. And obviously he went off and he did, voice work and stuff in the Hollywood world. The Hollywood space. And what is the name of the thing he did?
Twisted Metal?
Twisted Metal. That's it.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
No. I should to support
It's
Samoa Joe.
Good. It's good.
But Samoa Joe is just so excellent, and I adore him. And obviously, like, the same reason for the Sting match. I feel like Revolution took AEW and put them right back on track in a lot of ways. And I think this had some things to do with it. This is also, like, for me, where I really started to believe in Swerve. Because, like, Swerve and Keith Lee was fun, but I was always, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, AEW is not really doing what they should with Swerve, because I think Swerve should be a single star who, is Swerve as he is today. And this is a match where I was like, I think that AEW believes in Swerve. And I started to buy in. And it paid dividends.
It did. I think that Samoa Joe makes anyone look fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, he made that last CM Punk match tolerable for me because it's just Samoa Joe. Like, he just is. And maybe that's my Ring of Honor bias, is the fact that anything that he sells, I'm buying, like, I'm into. So
Period.
he could, what is it saying? He could sell ice to an Eskimo.
I don't think I've ever heard that saying in my life.
Really? They say it in the realm of the world that I have my shoot job in a lot.
Huh. Never heard it. I'll add it to my repertoire.
I love it. All right.
I should check things off of my list so that way.
I mean, overlap is fine. Overlap is fine. One match that, because you mentioned Swerve, one match that completely captivated everyone, especially on social media, was Swerve versus Hangman Adam Page, their steel cage lights out match at AEW All Out.
It's on my list.
It's on your list too, Kiley.
No, we didn't consult each other on this.
I know.
Not my fault.
No, that's totally fine. I have backups. I have honorable mentions.
I'm running out of matches.
I know. So Swerve attacking Hangman before the cage was lowered was, I think, the sickest thing I've ever seen in a steel cage match, because I said, "Oh my God, are we watching a murder? Like, are they going to shoot, like, murder Hangman here?" Like,
I honestly, I thought I was going to pee my pants when that happened. I was so scared.
Yeah, I was scared too. I think that set the tone for this match. I mean, I know that there was that syringe spot that a lot of people were not into. Mm-hmm. But I don't like them, and they're boring. Prince Nana, obviously, like, being the valet that he is. Do we call him valet? Do we call him managers? I don't know. I think if you're going to call a woman a valet, you can call a man a valet. Anyways, hype man, whatever you want to call it. There were staple guns being used. Swerve absorbing those staples was disgusting. The crowd chanting "You sick fuck" at Swerve after he was just hulking up after getting stapled. And then Swerve took the staple gun and stapled a family photo to Hangman's face as a mirror to their match last year with that street fight where Hangman, did Hangman staple his child's art project to Swerve?
Yes.
Which is, like, it's such a good little mirror right there. But Hangman using barbed wire around his arm as a weapon, disgusting. Loved it. I just love the use of barbed wire in a wrestling match. Hangman Adam Page trying to use a chair, but Swerve countered it with that house call kick, which is brutal in itself. Swerve jumping off the referee's back with a buckshot lariat of his own to Hangman. Swerve grabbing a cinder block. And then it being turned on him, and those scratch marks at the end. Blah, blah. The splinter spike. That's the other thing I want to remember, which is a piece of Swerve's burned down house being used during the show to stab Swerve. Disgusting. I love it. But I want to hear your thoughts on this match.
I love this kind of, like, balls to the wall, I want you to die type of wrestling. I don't think that's a secret. I love, other kinds of wrestling. I love the Sting retirement matches and the feel good whatevers. But I loved this because it genuinely felt like anything could happen. Like they could have pulled out like, I don't know, a bed of nails, but all the nails are rusty and covered in the blood of Jesus or something. And I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it felt like there was no ceiling on this match.
Yeah.
Because it just kept escalating. And obviously this is where like we got to see Hangman at his most insane, but we also got to see Swerve sort of showing his crazy side that wasn't this like super well maintained, beautiful, manicured artist, that he has portrayed himself as. And so I think these two, when it comes to Hangman and Swerve, they just work so well together. I love the term like wrestling soulmates. I think that they will always I think even like 10 years from now, we'll be getting callbacks to this feud. Like that's how monumental it was, not just for each of their like respective careers, but for AEW in general. And it's on my match of the year list because of that, because it felt like while I was watching it, I was buying into everything, obviously, but it also felt like this is changing things because AEW doesn't
violently.
Like AEW does street fights and no DQ and death match and all that kind of stuff, but like this just felt so different to all of that. It felt because like in a lot of those matches, you get the same spots, you get the tacks, you get the chairs. This felt like so. It really did feel like I was watching two people try to kill themselves and each other in a cage, and I loved it. And I don't know if in 2025 we will circle back to Swerve and Hangman, but if we do, I'm scared.
You're scared?
You're not?
Of murder? Further murder? I mean, that's the only thing that's left. I mean, he choked him out to pass out, right? Hangman, that was it. He made him literally pass out after the syringe. It's like, okay, what other sick thing can we do? Murder.
We have had arson.
What are the other felonies that
someone has to steal a car? That's a felony. Identity theft?
Identity theft is not a joke.
The day where Hangman steals Swerve's identity and like commits fraud or something is going to be so funny. It's gonna be like insider trading or something.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be so funny. And let me check. Hold on. I'm trying to keep track of my list. Another one I have is from August, a Dynamite. It was a no DQ match. Shocker. Adam Copeland versus Brody King.
Oh,
banger.
Here's the thing about Adam Copeland, and I'll let you go on. But the thing that is the difference between like, and not to compare CM Punk to Adam Copeland, they're very different wrestlers. They're very different personalities. When Adam Copeland came into AEW, his whole thing was, I want to put over new guys. I want to wrestle them. And I think people went, okay, Adam Copeland, we've seen how you wrestled against like,
Randy Orton,
Roman Reigns, like AJ Styles. Okay, can you go? This guy is sick. I mean, yeah, he jumped off a cage this year because he's 50. But that match made me go, oh God, mortality is real here.
Yes.
Because he does this like running cannonball thing that I know that Kevin Owens does, but like Brody King, when he does it, I feel like could snap my neck, not just give me whiplash, but like snap my neck off, decapitate me. My head is rolling down off the ring apron. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it just the centrifugal force of Brody King, like makes me weep. But that's the whole magic of like Adam Copeland, and the reason why he's in AEW is to put over guys like that.
yes. We have a super chat from Delayed Gratz who says, in kayfabe, the TK character is a chaos-loving lunatic who allows murder, arson, and home invasion and bails everyone out of jail after pay-per-views. Listen, he's a billionaire. He should be bailing them out of jail after every pay-per-view. Because listen, Tony Khan is profiting off of the arson, profiting off of the home invasions and the murder and the assault and kidnapping and I don't know, whatever else they have going on backstage. He's profiting. So Tony Khan should be bailing them out of jail. And you know what? He should also be paying off the judges and the police.
You know what's so funny is this year I did not predict that Jake Hager would spiral out of control like he did on Twitter.
I forgot about that.
Because he called Tony Khan a communist. Which I don't know how you can call a billionaire a communist.
I don't know if Jake Hager knows what a communist is.
I don't think he knows much about anything.
No.
But
listen, in kayfabe, Tony Khan, and we haven't seen Tony Khan that many times on AWTV. It's like announcements aside, obviously, like as the character Tony Khan, we haven't seen him that often.
Yeah.
And so if he's going to do anything, it should be bailing them out of jail. But back to Adam Copeland, Brody King.
Yes.
I loved this match because I was frustrated because in the absence of Malachi Black, who was off doing whatever he was doing, cult magic or something, I don't know. I was frustrated that Brody King wasn't like doing anything. I'm like, where is Brody? Because I think Brody King is just such a good wrestler. And so the Adam Copeland match, because Adam Copeland is TNT champion at the time, which maybe we'll get back to that. I don't know. But I was like, okay, I think this match will be good. I think it'll be a good showcase for Brody. It's a dynamite match. I'm not expecting anything crazy. And also Adam Copeland's like still kind of finding his footing, like the Christian Cage thing, you know, all that kind of stuff. This was so good. It was Adam Copeland trying to out-brawl the professional brawler. And I loved it. Because I think Adam Copeland tries to do a lot of the Edge stuff, that like the stuff that he used to do as Edge. And I think some of that doesn't really work with his older body now. Like obviously the spear is still great. All that stuff is still kind of great. But this to me felt like Adam Copeland is experimenting with his wrestling style and he's having a blast with it.
Yeah.
Which he really could only do in AEW if we're being honest. And so I was really, really pleased to see him kind of finding love for wrestling and like treating wrestling like not as, oh, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do the same sequence of moves, and then I'm going to get my paycheck and go home. Where he's like, I want this to be good. And I want Brody to look good. And I want the crowd to have a good time. Not saying Adam Copeland was checked out in WWE, but... And so I was really, really pleased with this match. And that's probably why I put it on my list, was I got Brody being a star and like beating the crap out of Adam Copeland. And I got Adam Copeland throwing stiff punches. And, and like Adam Copeland is a big guy. Yeah. And I don't think we talk about that enough. He's big. And so he was, but obviously Brody King is bigger. So I don't know. I just really like this one. It was no DQ, so obviously there were some shenanigans and, you know, no DQ stuff. It wasn't street fight level crazy because it was on Dynamite, but I don't know. I just really had a good time with it. It was a blast.
Yeah, I would say that match was a blast from what I'm remembering. Now I just want to go rewatch it, which I'm so excited for AEW to be on HBO Max.
Me too.
Because I can't wait to start off at the beginning all over again.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I agree. So one match I want to talk about.
I'm listening.
Which I did put it on my honorable mentions, but seeing as like he's not going to be back until like spring, I think I need to mention it. Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson at Revolution.
So good.
One of those things that like here's my problem is that there was later on this year, Will Ospreay, when he comes and he goes, I wanna face the best wrestler, like best of the world, and he chose Bryan Danielson, which I would agree. His entire everything together has been, yeah, I would consider Bryan Danielson as one of the best wrestlers alive. But at that point, he had lost all of these other matches because he loses here to Eddie Kingston, which is like, that says a lot about Eddie Kingston. But they're so evenly matched for some reason during this match. Eddie Kingston, his little chops and strikes, the chop, dude, do you got a break? How are your rotator cuffs, man? Like, just going, his machine gun chops going through. I love it. I love it when Bryan Danielson has some freaking color on his chest. Because
he bruises like a peach.
He bruises so good. And it just looks like raw hamburger at the end of the night. And that's what I want. I want Bryan Danielson to look like he got through a fight. Because wow. They were diving onto the outside. Which every time that Danielson does it, I go, oh God, don't hit your neck. Oh God, don't hit your neck. And this was definitely during a time where everyone was going, we have our white gloves on with Danielson because he does that injury angle at every turn that he can. But Eddie Kingston getting kicked in the face, which I thought was like, oh, did he get knocked silly? Is he out with a concussion? Because we just saw that with Bandito coming in at Final Battle, and it's confirmed that he had a concussion. It's so easy to get a concussion these days, but it didn't seem like he got a concussion there. They pull out all the stops on each other. But I think the thing that Eddie Kingston does really well is he plays on the defense for a majority of this match, because Danielson is just hulking up because he knows that Eddie Kingston is a little bit sharper, a little bit bigger, and probably has his name written on a list. Eddie Kingston does the things in his matches where he goes on his back for a majority of the match, and then somewhere he gets this energy, probably from being so cool. And literally, he either does the job or he loses with gusto, and it makes you want to cry. And I remember crying at this match because I love Eddie Kingston so much. I love Bryan Danielson so much. But they just put their entire bodies on the line for what? Entertainment? For the sake of entertaining us? No. They were beating the absolute piss out of each other, and that was the entertaining part. It was so believable. It was so wonderful. But Eddie Kingston took down Bryan Danielson with a lariat and wins with a freaking power bomb. I miss Eddie Kingston. I miss him.
Me too. Eddie Kingston is like just perfect. And he would really be thriving in like the Death Rider angle. And also because
I just can't wait for him to come back.
He told us Claudio was a snake and no one believed him. And I love Eddie. I miss him. I'm so sad that he got hurt because it did feel like Eddie was invincible.
Mm-hmm.
But of course he gets hurt and it's like a big one.
From freaking Gabe Kidd. Boo. Boo, Gabe Kidd. Boo.
Unbelievable.
Eddie King's...
My goodness. Is Hangman on the TV or something? Next on my list, I have a couple more. Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay from Full Gear. Not the one from yesterday, but also the one from yesterday. But I put this match on here because, like...
So you're saying Full Gear is better than last night's?
That's a tough question for me because, like, recency bias.
Right. But, like, storyline-wise, character development-wise...
I think the match yesterday was more impactful for Will Ospreay overall.
Okay.
But I think that they're both excellent matches, and I think, like, the bigger picture of why I picked it is because I think Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher is magic as a feud, because I think it's obviously Will Ospreay, but I think Kyle Fletcher emerging as like a single star has done so much for AEW. And I think he's just like so organically over in weight and like in a way that's hard to find.
Yeah.
And I think he wrestles so, and what I really loved about the Full Gear match and then also the World's End match was that Kyle Fletcher knows Will Ospreay so well that he's countering moves before Will Ospreay even starts them. And I love that. He's like, I know Will Ospreay, and I know that he's going to go for, the Oz Cutter. He's going to go for, the standing Spanish fly or whatever he's doing.
Right.
And I love that because if there's one thing about me, I'm the baddest alive. I'm
so glad you picked up where my brain went.
See, we would have a good wrestling match because I would know what you were going to do.
I love it so much. I love it.
I love wrestling feuds and wrestling stories that are built on like long-term friendships and relationships where like the people know each other very, very well. I think that's why I love like Omega Okada or Omega Hangman or Swerve and Hangman or Sasha Banks and Bailey or like all these feuds that I think like are my favorite feuds of all time. I think that's why I really like them. But Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay is also kind of surreal a little bit because Kyle Fletcher is kind of this like in the Will Ospreay role of he's the Will Ospreay of Ospreay Omega. And in this, Ospreay is the Omega. Sorry, I touched my mic.
No, it's okay.
And so it's like it's kind of surreal to see Will Ospreay, who like we're used to thinking of as a young guy and up and coming talent. Oh, hello. Come back. What are your thoughts on Ospreay? We need thoughts on Ospreay. Come back.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. My dog.
Miss Penny, we need thoughts.
Oh.
Come back. Okay, tell us what you think.
What do you think? Do you like it? Is it good? She said it was good.
Good. She just said it's more than good.
It's more than good. Yeah.
Delicious.
Did you like it?
So cute. I want to squeeze her. Not too hard, though.
Ma'am, you just interrupted the podcast once again.
She's like, I don't even know what a podcast is.
I don't even care. I just know that you're not petting me.
I adore. I don't remember what I was saying.
You know what You know what I
Osprey.
didn't do for Christmas for them? I
What?
didn't. I saw a bunch of people doing like. Sorry, this is a tangent. I saw that people were like making like separate little Christmas meals for their pets.
That's really cute, though.
I know, and now I feel bad because I made a whole ham, and I didn't make her one.
Next year.
Next year, yeah. But anyways, continue.
What? Oh, I was talking about Osprey and Fletcher.
Yeah.
What I really loved is that it's also like this added element of Osprey has poured like all this love into Kyle Fletcher and took care of him during the pandemic and mentored him and helped him in Japan. And Fletcher is like has this ego about him where he's like, I succeeded because of me. It was never because of Osprey. It was never because of Mark Davis. And I just love it. I don't like that he shaved his head. But listen.
Do you prefer Kyle Fletcher's shaved head or Will Ospreay straightened hair?
Oh, shaved head. Will Ospreay's straight hair is crazy. And he has his curls back, thank God.
Oh, it just reminds me of every time that someone in either middle school or high school was like, hey, can I straighten your hair?
When you have curly hair,
yeah,
you just can't do that.
Yeah, I should probably find a picture and send it to you. But
I would love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't know if I'll have to go back and rewatch the Full Gear match to figure out if I like the Full Gear or the World's End more.
Okay.
I can't. I don't know. I just think it's like I just love these like super emotional like heavy feuds, and Don Callis being there kind of annoys me a lot because I don't like Don Callis. But what I will say is that I think that Don Callis has done an excellent job of making Kyle Fletcher even more annoying, which kind of works in his favor. Yeah, Big Man Dog says I like the World's End one more. That one was great. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch the Full Gear one because, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, the World's End one was better. But also, like, there's recency bias, and I don't want to say, oh, World's End is better because I haven't watched the Full Gear one since Full Gear, and so I don't really know.
But should we put them simultaneously on at the same time?
I should have like back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Kyle Fletcher's really emerged as like a top guy, and I'm excited for him in 2025 because I think they'll wrap the Will Ospreay feud, and I think Kyle Fletcher's going to do some great things. I'm excited.
I agree. Well, should I share my last one?
I'm so excited. Give it to me.
All right, my last one. I talked about him last time, but I'm mentioning the Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson match, mostly because the injury angle at the end. Because the entire story between the two, right, as I mentioned, is that Ospreay wants to face the best wrestler in the world. It's weird because at this point, Danielson is losing, and this is at AEW Dynasty back in April, which seems forever ago. The crowd made this match for me. They seem to be the most in tune with this match. But remember, at the end of this match is where the war of himself of Will Ospreay is if he's going to use the Tiger Driver, right?
Yes.
And he wants to avoid it. He's having an emotional conflict. I love an underlying storyline on top of or underneath violence. So it's violence on the surface, but there is that underlying war in himself. This was a very New Japan styled match rather than the AEW kind of, a little bit crispier, a little bit more polished for television kind of thing. But it was a little bit rigid, and I think that that's where Danielson needed, because he did have that injury angle at the end.
Yeah.
Ospreay did land on his neck during this match, and he no-sold it, which made me feel very uncomfortable. I think everyone else in the crowd was a little bit uncomfortable because we're like, oh, concussion, because of the way that he fell on his neck. But he seemed to be fine. Him hitting his hidden blade is just nasty, especially against Danielson, who has a history of neck issues. But Danielson, with his yes kicks and, his knees to the back of the head, were evenly matched. I think that this was the first time that I remember Danielson while he's been in AEW, because he's been resistant of doing the things that he did in WWE with the yes chants and everything. And I know that he has mentioned that he's like, I want to save that for WWE. I want that to be its own thing. If the crowd does it, I'm not going to encourage it. I'm not going to go with it. But this felt like, I remember this being the first match that he leaned into full yes chants. But I just truly think that this match was such a little tie in to what the summer brought for Danielson and Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
But Will Ospreay then hitting that Tiger Driver 91. And Danielson does the seizure cell, and I'm over here sobbing my freaking eyes out because I'm like, he can't be that good.
He's that good though.
I know. What is it? That Fightful article that Jeremy wrote that Cody Rhodes taught me how fun it is to lie or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the seizure angle at the time, I was mad because it's I don't like being, caught up in the kayfabe of it all. Because it is an actual thing that Danielson has been saying on interviews, is that, his doctors are telling him to stop. They are telling him that he has to get surgery, all these things.
Yeah.
And that seizure cell got me. I got.
Yeah.
But Ospreay completely, he's watching Danielson have the seizure and he goes, I have to finish the match. Not stop the match. He has to finish the match. And then swinging one more time and connecting with the hidden blade, 1, 2, 3. Ospreay beats Danielson. I'd see this match happening again in another capacity, to kind of tie this match up. But friggin' Danielson, get me. I feel I got got.
Danielson had so many great matches this year that it's almost hard for me to pick one that I think is the best.
Yeah.
Because I think Danielson is just leagues above most wrestlers when it comes to these little storytelling things. Not the brand or the big arcing, here's what the story is about, the little things in the matches that really make you feel unsettled or disturbed or or whatever. I think he's the best at it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Ospreay coming in to AEW, because we were anticipating his debut. We were told months in advance it was happening. By AEW, mind you.
By AEW.
Not even the dirt sheets. It was AEW. And so I anticipated it. I knew he was going to have good matches. And what I think he's done really, really well, and I think what ties the Kyle Fletcher thing to the Danielson thing is that he is getting into that space where he is trying different storytelling elements, like a Danielson or an Omega or something like that.
Yeah.
Because we had the Tiger Driver thing where he's scared to use the Tiger Driver because he hurt someone and he's scared to do it again.
Yeah.
And then we also had the Styles Clash thing where he's always doing the Styles Clash and it's never quite paying off. And I don't know. I just think that like AEW has got me to also stop fighting in the chat. For the love of God, please.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
I'm ignoring it, but
I was ignoring it, but I feel like
it's not name call. That's
yeah,
not what we're here for.
It's not productive to fight in a YouTube chat. It never is. I think that like, what was I going to say about Ospreay? Oh, I think AEW getting me to genuinely enjoy Ospreay is the biggest rib in the history of wrestling. Because I, for so long, did not enjoy Ospreay. Because
yeah, same.
Because I would watch him in New Japan, and I'm like, okay, he's an athletic guy. What else? And then Dave Meltzer's giving him like 50 stars per match.
Oh my gosh, we texted each other. I was like, I don't care. Why are like the top 10 of Dave Meltzer's matches of the year like oh Will Ospreay?
And I understand because Will Ospreay is like the culmination of everything that Dave Meltzer likes in wrestling, right? And so, but in New Japan, everyone's like, oh, he's the next Omega. He's the next big thing. And I was like, if anything, Jay White is. I didn't get the hype about Ospreay. And then he comes to AEW and he's completely different in a lot of ways. And I'm like, damn it, now I like Ospreay.
Damn it.
But I think he's done a lot of improvement in AEW. Like unsung improvement too. Like not just, he's putting on banger matches, he's wrestling all the greats, whatever. It's like he's stepping outside of his box. And the same thing with Adam Copeland. Like I feel like he's stepping outside of his box in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I'm into it. Delayed Gratz, this made me laugh. Delayed Gratz says Meltzer gave Okada versus Ospreay stare down 200 stars. That's literally Meltzer's dream. Like I think if you ask Meltzer, like, what is your ideal wrestling angle? It's that. Yeah. He loves a good stare down too.
He loves it.
I don't know where I was going with that Ospreay tangent.
But it's good.
Ospreay.
Loved it.
I need you to watch World's End, Colin. Because
I will. Okay. So after this, I told you I'm going to go take my husband to go pick up his car. Then we're probably going to order in some food because it's still crimbo limbo. It's the time between Christmas and New Year's. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But crimbo limbo, we're going to probably order some food. We'll watch it together. I might take a nap. Who knows? But I will message you because I'm excited to chat about it.
Yes, I need all of your thoughts.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I'll send you a video.
Please. I need. You'll know the moments where I need videos. You'll know.
Okay, perfect. You'll know. Perfect.
Well, I won't tell you, but you'll know.
All right.
Do you want to do your final thoughts and your plugs?
Yeah. Final thoughts is that there was so much wrestling to go around that even though Kiley and I had some crosses over, we definitely do like different things in wrestling, and you can like different things in wrestling too. If you don't like any of the matches that we provided, go make your own list. Go make your own YouTube channel and send me the link because I'd love to watch it and support you for sharing your opinion about wrestling, even though I might not agree with it. Trashing someone for having their own opinion is like so 2019. Like we don't do that anymore. We don't do that here. But we say, what a great opinion. I don't agree. And I love it. And that's how we can be as civilized people, right? So celebrate each other having different wrestling opinions. Let's go into 2025. Liking wrestling. Wrestling's alive. Listen, every promotion has something cool going on. And there's something out there for everyone. So yeah. You can find me here every Sunday for Wrestling Made Me Cry. On Mondays, we do Women's Classic Wrestling, except next week we are doing, or this week, as in tomorrow, we are doing something over on our local establishment where we're doing our year-end lists. So Kimmy and I have to combine together to come up with our lists. So if you would like to watch our year-end lists tomorrow, it'll be live on the channel. I cover Ring of Honor. I would like to take a little mental health break for a little bit because I got to find a new, got to figure out who's going to co-host that now with me. But we'll see as time goes on. If you want to know where I'm at and where I'm guesting on shows, you have to follow me on all social media _queer auntie.
100%. Also, Happy New Year.
Happy New
Maria
Year.
in the chat said Happy New Year. And I was like, yeah, Happy New Year's, guys. Happy New Year. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Kiley Wrestling. I post a lot more on Blue Sky, but I'm trying to be equitable because I know there's some people on Twitter who aren't on Blue Sky, and there's people in Blue Sky who aren't on Twitter, and I'm trying to be equitable. So follow me there. I live posted only on Blue Sky yesterday. I'm sorry, but yeah, follow me there. This is Wrestling Made Me Cry. It's a show where me and Colin just talk about all the things in wrestling that made us cry, happy or sad, or all of the above. We're live every Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on Fightful Overbooked. And then also this is Fightful Overbooked. There's a lot going on in this channel, wrestling and non-wrestling content. So when we're done here, make sure you go to the playlist tab and you go explore and see what's going on. Because there's a lot of great people. There's a lot of great stuff going on. Happy New Year to Jose. See you in the new year, Clown. Happy New Year, Delayed Grats. Hope you all have a safe and happy new year. Be safe, be smart. Don't be dumb on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Or else.
I'm going to be very upset with you if you are. All that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us. Happy New Year. Oh my God, we'll see you in 2025.
Oh my God. Next year.